Luckily, this one was about 4 feet tall. And so I'm going through the crawl space and I see something move, freaked out a little bit at first. And then
kitty.
That's what I thought it was. I look over and see the white stripe and is like, I don't even remember getting out of the crawl space.
So hello and welcome to Selling in Idaho. And today we have a special guest. I'm Denise and this is Delise and this is David. David is with Bentnell, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Bentnell Home Inspections.
Yep.
Glad to be here.
And this is our second podcast. So if you want to hear a little bit more about the history of where Bentnell started and all that, that would have been our first podcast. But we invited David back because we had so many things to talk about that we figured let's stretch it out to another podcast.
Absolutely.
So thanks for coming back.
Yeah, no problem. That was a fun, good time.
So you had a couple of
Yes, I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I just think it's so important to talk about because, you know, I have 7 animals at home and other people might as well too.
Well, if they're selling their home.
If they're, you gotta,
they haven't left yet.
Yeah, they're still there. Yep. So the one thing I always remember is this photo that you guys showed me one time at a class that I took of your guys's. And it was the AC unit on the outside of the home just completely deteriorated from the dogs urinating on it.
Yes.
And that is something that I've never...
Are you sure it was the dogs?
In my case, it might be my husband. I don't know. But, you know, I can't get rid of him, so...
That's very typical, especially older ACs, pets. Usually takes more than one dog, but the whatever material that AC, that outer coil part is, dogs' urine is very acidic and it just eats it away over time. So if the outer coils are just gone on some of them, usually it's just minor damage, but it can eat that away, which then ruins the efficiency of the unit.
And that's just something that, I mean, how often do you actually go outside and look at your outside AC unit?
Well, that's why we hire an inspector.
That's what I mean. So if you're going to sell your home in Idaho, if you're selling in Idaho and we do a pre-listing inspection, then it could pop up on there, especially if you have pets or have had pets, or if this is you purchase a home from somebody else, maybe they had pets and you guys didn't get a good inspector like Bentnell to come check it out. You wouldn't know.
Yeah. Pets can cause a lot of damage to a house, the AC, and usually sprinklers will, get the siding wet, things like that.
Yeah.
And the dogs, because it's wet and soft, they like chewing it up, things like that too. So, yeah.
I remember one time you guys did an inspection for my husband's buyers, and we couldn't figure out what the smell was in the bathroom. And we thought it was just old urine that had creeped around the toilet or whatever. And Mike was the one that was doing the inspection, and he found that the dog or the cat was going in the register. It was piling up in the register.
In the register?
In the register, which happened to be kind of near the toilet. But the things you guys have caught was crazy. And the sellers would appreciate that. So even if you guys aren't selling and you're thinking about selling like in the spring, that's why we want to have a pre-listing inspection so we can catch all these things. That's also like chewing up on the carpet and all. So it's probably important for the sellers to put away their animals when you come over, right? Yeah,
we've had a couple inspectors get bit, a couple close calls, but even though sometimes the dogs are very nice, gentle, and they always, they're perfect, they have no problem. Things, and it usually happens when we're coming out of a crawl space. You guys have seen us, we're in coveralls, we're wearing face masks and everything. So picture us just popping our head out of a crawl space, and now, to a dog, that's, you're not the same person that was petting them 20 minutes ago. So, and, then they come at you. And we did have one inspector kind of tore up his hand pretty bad because he was trying to fight off the dog biting him. He had to actually go back into the crawl space to kind of get away from him a little bit. Oh my God. They sent him to a specialist because they thought he might have caught a nerve or something, but it didn't end up being that bad. But it could have been. On the lighter side, I just had this visual. So if you're a husband and you order the inspection, you might want to tell your wife so she doesn't take a bad someone's crawling out of my crawl space. Whoop,
like whack-a-mole with the crawl space.
Yeah, I had that happen to me once. Not that caught that. But with the dog, it was on the outside crawl space. Dogs running around in the backyard, poked my head out, and he came after. Luckily, we carry a little stick that's for clearing spider webs out in front of us, but luckily had that, and he kind of bit onto that, got out of there.
Have you guys ever thought of just bringing treats with you to keep it up?
Not a bad idea.
No. Okay, you guys, do you have your thermal imaging? Do you have your moisture detector and your dog treats?
And your dog
Make sure that you come prepared.
But when you come out of the crawl space, set a stake right there.
Exactly. It was like a little bone.
Keep the dog busy.
Hungry, you get stuck in the crawl space, no one finds you. You know, it's preventative measures, right? It's survival.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And you guys are talking this the whole time, and my brain keeps going to, okay, the dogs when you come out, but what about when you're in there if they have cats that are just so curious and decide, maybe we want to jump in the crawl space.
Oh, and they're missing their shit.
And then all of a sudden, the kitty cat goes missing, and
that has happened several times. Usually, there's a cat from a litter box, or you see the cat, or
Oh wait, I thought you have a heart attack. You're not expecting to see something moving around out there.
Oh, I can tell you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You got.
Yeah, I was like, you can't end it like that.
Well, one time I was doing an inspection. There was no evidence of any animals in the house anywhere, and going through the crawl space, and all of a sudden there's a cat running around, and it scared me at first, but then I'm like, okay, how do I get this cat out of there? So I probably spent a half hour chasing the cat around the crawl space, and it finally jumped back out.
Okay, and for those of you that don't have a crawl space, was it 2.5 feet? So you're not really running.
Yeah.
Minimum is 18 inches, and some of them are that, but yes, most of them are a couple feet. One time I did run into a skunk in a crawl space.
Oh.
It, luckily did not spray, but the odor of a skunk was during the whole inspection, but I just thought it was outside, or, when you just kind of have that slight smell. Go in the crawl space. Luckily, this one was about 4 feet tall. And so I'm going through the crawl space, and I see something move, freaked out a little bit at first, and then
Kitty.
that's what I thought it was. I look over and see the white stripe, and it's like, I don't even remember getting out of the crawl space. So then I'm going around the house looking for how it got in there, and I could not figure it out. But it's like, well, I'll come back and finish the crawl space, and you get the skunk out.
Absolutely.
I don't know what they did after that, or if they bought it, or.
So the smell was in the house. So I wonder if the skunk had been.
But it was outside. It was in the house, so it's probably been in there for a little bit. But yeah, I don't know how it got in there.
Well, it must have been a little bit, because when we lived in California, yes, I lived in California. Dun, dun, dun. We had a skunk under our house, and season of mating, what they do to attract the females is they spray. So our house, we would go somewhere. I would go somewhere to get my nails done. She goes, "What is that smell? It smells like a skunk." And I'm like, "Yes, it's my house." So it had to have been a very temporary time that skunk was there, or winter time when they're not mating.
Yeah.
What else have you found in there? Have you ever found possums or anything?
Oh yeah. Usually it's
No badgers though, right?
No. A couple of the guys. I mean, every now and you'll see, like snakes shed skin. So you'll see that, and sometimes they're kind of big.
Thank you.
I've never actually ran into one. I do have a friend who is an inspector in Tennessee, and he sent me a picture of
A boa?
Yeah, or a copperhead, I think it was, curled up on a thing looking at him, and I'm like, no, thank you. I think I like inspecting here.
Yeah, because we really don't have anything today. Well, where would you find, like, have you ever seen a rattlesnake? Do we have rattlesnakes?
Yeah,
We do. I've never seen her.
Where would you find them? It'd be more south, like Cuna, or in the desert. And
closer to the desert and stuff. No, because they like sitting out in the sun and things like that. But I've never personally ran into one in a crawl space. But yeah, have seen like the sheds and things like that. But yeah, so those things were always fun.
We also had a mountain lion, and she lived in California, and it was California. It was a couple houses down, but there was a female mountain lion, and she had her babies in there. And so, yes, it's probably good being in Idaho.
Oh yeah, yeah, especially older homes, and ones where like the crawl space access is outside and it wasn't kept up very well. You'll always run into cats or possums or something in there, and a lot of times, something's been there for a while, dead or decaying, and they're kind of grossed come across. But yeah,
a few of those. You guys are probably wondering where I live.
our inspectors don't put those pictures in the report. We say there's something down there.
There's something down there.
You know what else would be good for sellers in Idaho right now is there's a new rat thing going on. So have you come across any rats?
No, not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of.
So we covered all of that.
Well, I was going to say, on a fun side note, popped into my head. If you're selling in Idaho and you do have a cat and he is an outside cat or maybe sometimes comes inside, inform everybody, because I have definitely gone to a house where a cat is at the front door begging to get in, and I've let them in thinking they belonged there and they did not.
Yeah, and
So-
had that too, or a dog escape out of a yard.
Oh yes, yes.
Oh yeah, no, it was one of mine.
Probably.
Mike. Yeah, it was a lab, and it accidentally, the homeowners, it wasn't Mike's fault. The homeowners had left the gate open. Mike hadn't even been in the yard, and all of a sudden the dog was running down the street, and he happened to notice. So good old Mike ran and caught the dog and put it back in it.
Sometimes it's that easy. I remember one time a while ago, we probably spent an hour chasing the dog down and finally got it back. But yeah, it's just, you don't know there's a dog there, and then you go in the backyard to, look around, and you didn't close the gate or whatever.
So moral of the story is, please let the inspector know if you have a pet. Yes,
Yeah.
that's where we're getting at.
Yeah.
This one.
And our guys all know now, always close the gates behind you. Don't leave them.
Yes.
They're not supposed to, just in case. You never know.
And I know it's not as talked about, but we've covered crawl space and what you're going to find in there and what people like to hide in there. Apparently, it's not the bodies. But what about the attic space? So, what have you seen up there?
Have you seen bats? Because we had those too in California.
Not typically. I think I have seen them up there, but yeah, they're. Yeah, but you usually can tell if you do the outside part of the house, you'll know if something's. A lot of birds sometimes, they get in through the gable vent or, peck little holes in the screens.
So you just write that up in the inspection and let the homeowners know. And then we call, is it like a animal control, vector control?
Yeah, it's either animal control, pest guy will do that. But yeah, usually if you go up in the attic, you can chase them out and then seal up the holes afterwards.
But the most common thing you find in the attic, would that be microbial growth? And low insulation?
It's probably, those are the two most common. And like I said, it's usually poor ventilation that causes it. You get some moisture up there in the wintertime, and then poor ventilation just causes it. Humidity in the summer, things like that. If the attic has good ventilation, you usually don't find those problems unless there was a leak, and then it'd be pretty isolated. Mm-hmm. So
that would be a rough issue.
But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that kind of scares home buyers or away from issues, things like that.
You know what we need to talk about on the next podcast is how to remediate all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Because that's easy enough to do. And yeah, I know you have a lot of vendors. So we don't mean to be scaring you, but we do mean to educate you, because if you're getting ready to list a house, can you imagine all of these things that we've been talking about in the last couple podcasts pop up? Those buyers usually get nervous, they bounce. And how wonderful is it that we take an inspection report that you guys have given us, because it itemizes everything. It has photos, and it tells if it's passed, it's fine, or if there's an issue. And so we've got like the different levels of problems, right? We've got not a problem at all. We've got mild. How do you classify it?
We have 3 classes: maintenance, which are just usually general maintenance things, caulking, things normal maintenance of a house. And then we have minor things, what we would consider minor, and it might just be a leak under a sink that isn't causing any damage or something like that. I mean, it's a leak, but it's easily fixed. And then major stuff, usually bigger leaks, microbial growth, electrical issues, or safety hazard of some kind.
Skunk in the crawl space.
Space, that would be a major issue.
So you'll end up with this report. So if you use Sabot Realty, we'll have the report and we mail it to you, because we're the ones paying for it. So we get it mailed to us. And then we'll send it to you with our suggestions, like the minor stuff, the chips and carpet stretching and stuff like that. We have handymen that we could do that for, electricians for the more major things, plumbers, roofers, and we do secondary inspections too. Yep. So like you advise, especially roof, right?
Yeah, you can do re-inspections, come back, to look and make sure any repairs that got done properly and things like that. Yep.
Yeah. So, of course, they're inspectors. They're not roofers. So if they call out, we see problems with the roof, it could be too old. We'll call a roofer. He'll come out as a secondary inspection, and then we can get life of expectancy on the roof, any problems and stuff. So it's kind of the base. And then we go from there on what to fix or to have a secondary inspection come out. And then we need to talk about following up on that next podcast for sure, because if we do get all these things taken care of, what we can do is have a secondary inspection, have him come out and see if all the items were taken care of properly. Because gosh forbid, I mean, you've had buyers, I've had buyers. We'll have a laundry list of 20 items and we go and we do our due diligence. You guys get the repairs done and we want to make sure that they've done it right. And so you guys come back out, and I would probably say maybe 50-50 that not all of the items were taken care of.
Yeah, it's highly unusual that everything was taken care of or taken care of properly, depending on who the buyer hired to fix the items, things like that. Because usually they're trying to, or the seller is trying to fix it as cheaply as possible, but hopefully still good quality work.
Yeah, because that's the thing. If I give that inspection report to the buyer's agent and say, okay, here's what we've done. We've taken care of all these items. And then we go through the process and we close. And then the new buyers move in. Let's say it was a roof leak or whatever. And it wasn't done properly. Even if it was one of our guys, this is why we want them to come back, because they'll turn around and guess who's going to be in trouble? It's going to be the seller, because we told them it was taken care of. So we want to make sure there was a second inspection that items were taken care of.
Yeah, very common.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for meeting with us.
Yeah,
it's always a pleasure.
I know, it's always so fun. I love the stories.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us and selling in Idaho. And we're going to have you back for follow-up. Do you mind coming back again?
Awesome.
All right, let's do it. All right. Thank you guys for joining.